How you guys doing today? It's Anthony Ganji. Welcome to another episode of Tier Talk. Guys, interesting case coming out of Wayne County, Utah. They kind of consider this like a remote country. A handful of tiny towns, farm fields, and the Red Rock Canyons around Capitol Reef National Park. And on Wednesday in early March of 2026, it looked like any other day. Locals running errands, hikers heading out along State Route 12 toward trailheads outside Torrey, until three women ended up dead at two different scenes, and the words triple homicide and manhunt hit the scanners. The victims would soon be named: Margaret Oldroyd, 86, of Lyman; Linda Dewey, 65, also of Lyman; and Natalie Graves, 34, of West Jordan. Linda and Natalie were aunt and niece out on a hike. Margaret was an elderly woman who lived alone in a brick house with a shed out back. From the outset, this looks like a triple homicide killing spree. One offender, three victims, a single continuous episode rather than a long-term serial pattern. So he's not considered a serial killer. Let me show you this video real quick, Russ. This will give us a little backdrop here. And thank you for the suggestion, Russ.
This morning, police say this 22-year-old from Iowa has confessed to a terrifying crime spree across rural Utah, where three women were murdered at random.
As far as it's a very tragic situation, we don't believe he's targeted these for any specific reason other than just for convenience.
Investigators say Ivan Miller was on a road trip when he hit an elk, and his truck had to be towed. Desperate to return to Iowa, they say he broke into the home of an 86-year-old woman and shot her while she was watching TV, then stole her Buick. But police say Miller did not like the car, so he drove to a nearby hiking trail and ambushed two friends, shooting and stabbing the women and stealing their Subaru. The victim's husband used a phone app to track the Subaru, leading police on a manhunt, which ended in Colorado, where Miller was arrested.
It's going to be something that definitely shakes the community for a little while.
His brother says Miller suffered mental health issues, but the tow truck driver, who says he met Miller after he hit that elk, spoke to our affiliate, KTVX, and says nothing appeared unusual.
Said that he was traveling through and he needed to get back to Iowa to help his brother with some construction work, and I didn't notice anything abnormal.
If convicted, Miller could face the death penalty.
My mind is blown, Russ. I mean, when you came across this case, I mean, how shocking is this one?
Yeah, it's very shocking and out of the ordinary. This is just, matter of factly, supposedly at some point, I don't know if it was while they were interviewing him or during the confession. I assume it was during the confession. He just said it just had to be done.
Yeah. I mean, he just hits an elk, destroys his vehicle, and then he goes on this killing spree. And by the way, guys, there are some people calling him a serial killer. He's not a serial killer, guys. This is one incident in which he killed multiple people, so it's more of a killing spree. Hey, Russ, there was a question sent my way here. Oh, go ahead, Russ.
No, go ahead.
Says, when an unknown offender strikes in a place like this, does the rural setting itself change how you assess risks? For example, fewer potential witnesses, but also fewer potential targets. I don't think this was something he planned on doing.
I'm gonna provide what I believe is the explanation here in just a little bit, but I'm gonna hold it back for just a little bit. This is kind of one of those terrifying things. This is like a great white shark attack. It's rare, but it does happen. And so, you have these two female hikers who are, not in any way suspecting that something is going to happen to them. And yet, out of the blue, you have this predator there and he kills both of them. Earlier, just prior to that, of course, they couldn't know this, but, he had actually, sat in this woman's home waiting for her to come home so he could kill her and take her vehicle and have it at his disposal without anyone alerting the authorities. And that is just really very calculated. It's very cold. The part where, he just, approaches these women, though, is seemingly somewhat more frenzied, although frenzied isn't quite the word I would use here. And it was just, he didn't really plan it out. This was just a spontaneous double killing at that point, and he racked up 3 bodies in just a matter of a couple of hours.
I mean, is this really about the vehicle and then it has to be done? Is it really about him having to get out of Utah?
For him, yes, it absolutely was. And
so there's really nothing deeper. I mean, it's interesting, but there's the real main motivation is, even though he picked targets that some would consider vulnerable, I get it, but and in an isolated area. So I was looking at the town, rural Wayne County gives an offender isolation, darkness, and distance between houses, which lowers the chance of witnesses or rapid response. But there's still enough people and cars moving through that he can find victims. It's not random chaos. It's an environment that quietly favors someone willing to exploit trust and distance. But in this case, is the main motivation not so much the victims, but their vehicles, and the victims just get in the way?
It was just, he, for whatever reason, he felt that he had to get home any cost. And so there was just nothing that stood in the way. And you hear this particular individual at the end of this tape describe him as, calm and as if nothing had gone on, and had no reason to suspect anything bad from him. But I think that the reporting in this, and the stuff that they're talking about, the randomness and everything, that they've completely missed a really big key component to this. And,
well, I mean, now, just on the surface, I have another video I'm going to show now, but I mean, just on the surface, I mean, it looks like something. I mean, I could be wrong. I don't know this person's situation, but we're going to dig into it a little bit right now as we speak. But did something just happen, and he happened to be in this area, and then he decides to go for a vehicle and then basically goes after anything that gets in his way, and the 3 women just happen to be those obstacles, or was this place chosen to commit a crime spree? I mean, it looks more like there was some level of urgency. He felt he had to get a vehicle, and this happens to be where he's at.
It does look completely random.
All right, let me show you
but
some
it's
video.
Not.
All right, let's see. Let me get this other. No, let's do this. He went to court today too. I think I have a video of him in court.
Yes.
Let's do this video first.
Welcome back to Good Day Utah at 9:38. We are following breaking news coming out of Wayne County this morning.
We want to send you out there right now. Officials have caught the suspect for 3 deaths in Wayne County. All the way in Colorado, our Julia Sandor live at the scene. So Julia, we just heard that press conference wrapping up about 15 minutes ago. We learned a lot of information there. What were your big takeaways?
Yeah, that's right, John. Thank you, guys. We got down here about an hour ago. We've just learned some more information. I think the biggest piece of information was that they identified who the suspect was, and that's 22-year-old Ivan Miller. He's from Iowa. They don't have details about how he got here, but they do say right now we're kind of standing in front of one of the crime scenes. I'm going to step out of the way so that you can take a look at it. This is the residence of someone from Lyman that was one of the victims in this incident. And they say that there's no connections as far as family relations or anything like that for this victim or any of the other victims or any of the victims with the suspect, Ivan Miller. And again, he was taken into custody without further incident in Pagosa Springs. They say that just kind of some of the details, kind of going back to the incident yesterday, they had received a call around 4:30 afternoon from husbands of 2 of the victims that were on the trail because they hadn't gotten any information from them. They hadn't heard from them for a while. And when they got to the trail, that was when they had found them deceased and had made that call in Wayne County. And again, we're still trying to find out some more information. But when we spoke to Roden and DPS, they talked about how, this is a tragedy for any community, but 3 homicides within the past 24 hours is really scary, especially for a community of this size. And they want to make sure that if people still do see anything suspicious, whether it be a car, they're still investigating. So make sure you reach out to the police and the sheriff's office here with any other information. And we'll continue to bring you more updates as we learn more. But for now, live in Wayne County, Julia Sandor, Fox 13 News, Utah.
I got some background on the victims. I have Margaret. Maggie Oldroyd had spent years in Lyman, the kind of neighbor people know by name in a town where the population barely fills a church parking lot. She lived by herself in a modest brick home with an outbuilding and a shed over a small cellar space, the kind of rural property people assume is safe. Linda Dewey, 65. I think she's the she's the second oldest, because Maggie's in her 80s, right? Maggie's 86. I got Maggie is 86. I got Linda Dewey as 65. Lived in the same little town. Family statements describe her as a loving wife and aunt in a close-knit family centered on home, relatives in the mountains. Mountains can be seen out her back door. And her niece, 34-year-old Natalie Graves from West Jordan, shared that love for the outdoors. On the day of the murder, she'd driven down to Wayne County to hike with her aunt. Just family, fresh air, and a Subaru packed for the trail. None of these women had any prior connection to the man who would kill them. Their classification, I got lifestyle-wise, they're low risk, no drug trade, no criminal associates, but situationally they're highly vulnerable. An elderly woman living alone and two unarmed hikers at an isolated trailhead. And then, hey, Russ, do you have pictures of the victims?
I do not. I can find some real quick though.
So you have a theory here. What's your
yes?
How you want to go over that real quick, or do you want me to go through?
Let me go over what I realized about this, and I read through several of the articles at one time, and then suddenly it struck me because initially, as you know, I've dealt with spree killers, I've dealt with serial killers, I've dealt with gang killers, and all sorts. But as I read through, like the second or third time, it suddenly struck me. This guy.
I got the victims, Russ. I got them.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Let me show you these pictures real quick, Russ. Let me just show them because I found them. There's I just looked up Margaret Oldroyd. I saw all three, so they did send out something that has three of them. Margaret Oldroyd, where is she? You know what? I'll just do it this way. Hold on. Let me just do it this way. It's easier because I already have it on my phone. This is it's a bit. So Margaret Oldroyd would be the older lady. She is on my left. Then, yeah, then so Margaret Oldroyd, and then the other young lady is Linda Dewey. So Linda Dewey would be, I would have to assume
she's the aunt.
Oh, you think she's at? Because Linda Dewey would be in her 60s.
60s, yeah.
So which one do you think Linda Dewey is, in the middle or in the?
I think she's the one on the what should be to everyone there on the far left, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's weird because I don't mean to insult anybody. And then her niece, 34, Natalie Graves from West Jordan. So let me just take a look at that. And so maybe I can see it here individually. Maybe it's just a bad picture, maybe because it doesn't tell you. Well, either way, that's the three women. I'll show you again. These are the three women. Again, Russ, what do you got, Russ, on this?
Okay, so like I say, after I had gone through it about 2 or 3 times, I suddenly realized that it seemed to me like everybody was missing a key component to this. And the key component to me, and I'm going to take everyone through this real quickly right here, is this individual's age. He was 22. So when I look at the way this stacks up, I believe that this is the onset of schizophrenia. So we have age 22, and that is the dead center pink for onset window of schizophrenia in males. It's generally 18 to 25. He has this abrupt, unexplained cross-country departure, abandoning his life with no clear or rational purpose. He refused his brother's help when stranded. This is often a sign of schizophrenia, where there's a rejection of logical solutions and family support. He had a pretrial detention on a burglary, which also could have been a component of this. So he has deteriorating judgment. He failed to report to the pretrial officer in January. He had obtained a CDL, but then it was involuntarily revoked just within like 90 days of that. He had the felony burglary arrest on December 31st. And so this is sort of a possible resource-seeking behavior tied to delusional thinking. He was carrying weapons while legally prohibited. At one point here, he was sleeping in the stranger's shed. That's kind of an indicator of what we would call disorganized survival mode behavior. He premeditated the ambush, but then he killed two strangers over a car preference. So they had to be done language. That's flat. It's morally inverted logic. He confessed to everything voluntarily. That's not the sign of someone, who is, generally a stone cold killer. He's a stone cold killer, but I believe that this is all indications of schizophrenia. He produced the murder weapon during the interview. His brother was concerned but unnamed. And then the prosecutors immediately requested a mental health evaluation. And that's because I think that they know that something is wrong here. So that's what I came up with. I thought it was probably the only logical explanation, but I could be wrong. But it was that age. It was that age of being 22 that really leapt out at me.
So right. So you have the fact that I get it. It's an age for a good, possibly a mental health breakdown. Schizophrenia is tough because a lot of people that have these breakdowns aren't always violent. I think that's a misconception.
No, but it explains so much.
Yeah, but it may, but usually the violence related to those that with schizophrenia could relate to voices that say kill somebody, something in the moment, where at this point here he's looking for a car. They're not really a threat to him, but the fact that he wants to get a car. Like I find it. I mean, if they want to play that route, but the problem is he's going for the car. Like, what would be in his head saying, I need to kill these people. They're a threat to me.
But that's the hallmark of it. This is
because he said he needed their car, right?
Yeah. Well, he said he inferred that he needed their car to get home. And that's why it looks so disorganized to me. There's no corollary relevance to what's going on there. He needed their car, so he killed them. And this being done in, what they described as, flat matter of fact is one of those things that oftentimes comes out when we look at some of these cases of schizophrenia. Not all schizophrenia.
Yeah, but he hit an elk. And now he's in a situation where he needs a car. So there's a connection here. I don't know how he hit a help, but there's a connection here as I got no car. I need a car. So the justification right now is he needs a car, and he could have killed them out of convenience.
Yeah, he killed them out of convenience, but he immediately admitted to it. He didn't try and cover up the crime. He wasn't freaked out by the first murder, and he started getting into a position, in my opinion, of it almost worked out the first time, so I'll try it again. This is disjointed, disorganized, classical first onset of schizophrenia.
I'm not 100% with that, Russ. I mean, I get your perspective. I'm not. It seems to be motivated to. I mean, obviously, the thing is, why did he have to get out of town so quick? That's what you want to know. right? That's the thing, right? Because that's the urgency, right? I'm assuming the urgency is he had to get out of town for whatever reason. So I'm assuming if there is paranoia or something, it's related to the reason of him having to leave town. Hits the elk. I don't know if he was driving recklessly and hit the elk. I don't know. And now he needs to get a vehicle. So maybe if there is a concern, we would have to look into why he needs to get out of town. Maybe there's a logical reason. We don't know what he did. Or maybe he just feels that maybe being locked up is the safest place he can be. So I will admit I killed people. I can't be out in the streets because we don't know what he seems to be running from, maybe. But I wouldn't push so much a health issue just yet because it's connected to him wanting a car. He wants a car and he wants to get out. I mean, the biggest concern would be the context of what's he trying to leave from. So I have here that the suspect is Ivan W. Miller, 22, from Blakesburg, Iowa. Back home, he had pending charges from a December 31st, 2025 cabin break-in, burglary, theft, marijuana possession, and unlawful possession of a weapon. So he has a history here. He got in a commercial driver's license in October 2025. That CDL was involuntarily revoked in January of 2026. Aside from that, his record is limited, but family later described him as a habitual liar with bizarre thoughts that worried them. There's the mental health concern. In late February of 2026, Miller left Iowa and drove west. A few days before the murders, he hit an elk near Loa, Utah, totaling his truck. He sold the wreck to a tow company, stayed locally, and told people he was stranded and needed to get home. An auto parts store owner picked him up hitchhiking, gave him a ride, and even loaned him money, describing him as polite but stressed and desperate. From Loa, Miller drifted towards Lyman, and that's where the stranded traveler story turns into homicide. So he fits a young transient, instrumentally motivated offender profile, property crime, weapons, instability, deception, and a willingness to use crime as a problem-solving tool. So, Russ, does that mix petty crime, weapons, revoked CDL, lying look like a typical drifter criminal, or do you see early ingredients of someone who could move into structured predatory violence, or do you see it as solely a mental health concern, or could it be everything acting at once?
I think it's a combination. I think that there's just this thing where he's spiraling downhill. It doesn't happen all at once. It's not a sudden snap or a break, but his behavior certainly began unraveling and deteriorating. I mean, you see him, sleeping out in a shed, after he's, done, dragging the body back there or whatever. He goes on this sudden trip where he's, taking a trip to nowhere that he can't explain to his family or to anyone else why he decided to do that. And then, he suddenly, during the course of the investigation, he has a flat affect. And, he just, matter of factly describes each and everything that he did. Not even serial killers will do that. And so that's just the kind of thing where you see him, spiraling downward, and he just gets to this point, and he's, we don't know yet, but he could have been experiencing, hallucinations. It could have been paranoia, and and a number of other things. So his brother had, that did seem, from what was reported, that he said that he didn't understand why he didn't want him to come out and get him and bring him back, because that was offered to do it. And
yeah, but the brother also said that his brother's a habitual liar. His family's not even saying, like, okay, they're concerned about certain things he said, but he's also calling him a habitual liar. Plus, also, let's say if it was solely a mental health concern, which I don't think it is. I think this guy had a comfortability in going to people's houses because he has a history of it.
But it's a relatively recent history.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know what it is that he's on the road for running from, but I think that I mean, we know of it being a relatively recent history, by the way. It's only what's documented. We don't know what he's done that he hasn't been caught on. We also don't know. There's a lot. I don't have a lot of information, just what I have in front of me here. I think the biggest concern is what he's running away from, but I actually think that what he's done or whatever it is, I mean, I don't think it's the end result of something related to mental health. I think that specifically is something he chose to do and not under some mental health duress. I don't think he was paranoid when he was going after them. I think he wanted a vehicle. Now, whatever the reason for the vehicle could be a concern, that could be a whole separate concern. I get there's urgency, but I still think he knew what he was doing because they got into his way of getting the vehicle. I don't think that's enough for us to say like the killings were, let's say, motivated by him having a breakdown. When I look at schizophrenia, paranoia, stuff like that, I look at something like a voice that's telling this person, kill this person in front of you. They're the devil. They're something. You got to kill them. You got to take them out. And in this case here, he wanted the car. Now, whatever that reason is, I don't know. That could be a concern. But killing them to get the car, which he kind of admitted to doing, that's pretty cut and dry. I mean, regardless of what you want the car for, you killed them to get it.
It had to be done. That was his way of putting it.
Yeah, but he has to explain that. Now, if it had to be done to get the car, that's a lot different than it had to be done because I felt threatened by them, or it had to be done because they were demons.
But he had ways out.
I think a lot of people with schizophrenia, I don't think they, especially at 22, it could be the onset, but to go right out and start killing, and then to be in that a state of paranoia that motivates the killing, I don't see. I see that maybe, I don't know, the driving, running away. I get it. I don't know what that is, and we still don't know what that is. He could be running from something real. Maybe, I don't know. There's I don't have much here, but he's got charges. So, I mean, could he be, let's see, he had pending charges from December. So, I mean, was he concerned about going back to jail? Because he had a cabin break-in, burglary, theft, marijuana possession. I mean, unlawful possession of weapon. He could have been looking at time. So maybe he felt he had to kill them because they could ID him. That could be another thing. Maybe he wanted to see if they would give him the car. You're 86 years old. You're not using it. Give me your car. No, you're not getting the car. Well, now she knows who I am. I have to kill her. I'm going to steal the car. I have to kill her because I don't want her identifying me, and that's not the car I want. I want this car. Then, so maybe I think there's some. Well, I don't want to say a lot, but sort of. I don't think he's to the point where he doesn't understand why he committed his actions. Just like you said, it had to be done. So he has a reason for why he did what he did, where sometimes people that are schizophrenic can't put it together.
It was delusional. It's delusional mission thinking. It's.
I wouldn't stick to that 100. I mean, I like how you put it out there.
I'm just telling you what I see here, and that's. I think that this is less about paranoid schizophrenia than it is disorganized or undifferentiated schizophrenia with delusional thinking. He just has this mission. It had to be done, so I had. Yeah, but you got a lot. You got a lot there. So the delusional thinking, we don't know what brought him to the house. We don't really know any of that yet. We don't know what he's running from technically. Maybe there is something there. I don't know, but I honestly think. But see, that's the thing.
Killing itself is not delusional.
Paranoids run from things. The disorganized, undifferentiated ones.
Yeah, but very rarely, unless they're in danger, Russ, do they kill.
They're delusional, but he's delusional, and we don't.
Yeah,
know,
Russ. Listen,
but we don't know what other factors might be involved.
So a lot of people that suffer from mental health breakdowns usually they're not, believe it or not, I don't make some, they're not as violent as the media may portray. I think there could have been some delusion. Maybe, I don't know what he's running from. I think it could still be here. He's pending charges, and maybe he could have done something prior. I don't know, but in the house, he thinks maybe the older lady or these two may not need the car. I'm going to take the car. Maybe they can ID him and he doesn't want to get ID'd. And there could be some logic behind that's not really paranoid. I mean, that's not really delusional. I mean, we all could have a level of paranoia too. Like, I mean, I got the police on my back putting pressure on me. I could be paranoid that they get me, but that's situationally driven. That's not internally driven. That's situationally driven.
And yet he immediately copped to everything and described the crimes in detail.
Yeah, but right. So that actually, so to be honest with you, that actually leans not towards paranoia, not towards disorganized thinking. Why? Because he admitted it?
No, because he doesn't know the difference between admitting it and not admitting it.
No, that's a stretch, Russ. Come on, brother, that's a stretch. He could be, there could be that's a stretch because he said I had to come because I had to be done. You know what? That's to say he doesn't know the difference. I think I don't see I mean, I'm not saying it can't be. I mean, we don't know what he's running, but it says here he has pending charges, habitual liar. I mean, this guy could just be a straight up psychopath. He wanted to go. Let's see what happened at the house. So here's the night in the shed. I have some details on the night in the shed, but let me see something else. I have another. Let me see this part here. This is when he got. This was the most recent one from an hour ago.
Now to a shocking story in Utah. A 22-year-old man from Iowa is accused of killing 3 women there. We get details now from CBS News national correspondent Jonathan Vigliotti.
Late today in a Colorado courtroom, 22-year-old Ivan Miller was charged with murdering 3 women this week and leaving this quiet and rugged corner of Utah reeling.
To have multiple homicides in one day is just unprecedented, and it just is devastating to the communities.
Police say Miller, an Iowa native, was on a cross-country road trip. His alleged crime spree began when his truck hit an elk, and while it was being fixed, he came to this home in the small community of Lyman, Utah, where prosecutors say he killed 86 Margaret Oldroyd, stole her car, and then abandoned it several miles away at this trailhead near Capitol Reef National Park. That's where he allegedly killed Linda Dewey and her niece, Natalie Graves, and stole one of their cars. Police were able to track Miller through a key fob and by using an automated license plate reader system as he allegedly drove the victim's stolen Subaru on an hours-long journey from southern Utah to the mountain town of Pagosa Springs, Colorado, where he was arrested early Thursday morning.
How do you make sense of what unfolded in the state?
I don't know that we do make sense of this. To try to make sense of it is probably not even fair to the victims.
And according to charging documents, Miller told investigators he randomly targeted these 3 women because he needed money and transportation to get back home, Major.
Jonathan, the suspect is in Colorado. So tell us what happens next.
Yeah, Major, he's expected to be extradited back to Utah to face those charges. If he is found guilty, he could face the death penalty. Major.
Jonathan Vigliotti.
All right, so I have the court thing here, but we don't really need to play that. I posted it on my Post-it board. Basically, it just talks about the charges, but let's just see maybe a little bit, see what it looked like. But Russ, I don't think there's anything. Let me just see. Mental health wise, let me just double check. Let's just see this because he's there. He's not like Nick Reiner.
Good afternoon. It's Friday, March 6th, 2026. We are here for the advisement docket for in custody. I will begin this matter with case 26 CR 21. But before I do so, I'd like the people to formally enter.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. This is Assistant DA Mac Dudley for the people.
Thank you. And the defense to enter, please.
Yes, Your Honor. Scott Van Zandt on behalf of Mr. Miller.
Thank you. I'm going to ask law enforcement to allow me sorry. Thank you. I'm calling case 26 CR 921, 26M33 and 26 CR 20. Can you state your name, sir?
Ivan, I-V-A-N.
I was facing transition that I knew needed to.
Sorry.
Your last name, sir?
Miller, M-I-L-L-E-R.
Thank you. Mr. Van Zandt, you are advising Mr. Miller. I'm going to go through what the court needs to go through. If you need to bring anything to the court's attention, please do so. Okay.
Your Honor, I think I can move this process along pretty quickly if the court wants.
I will yield if there's no objection from the people.
No objection, Judge.
Okay.
Your Honor, I've advised Mr. Miller on all three of these cases. We can waive any and all further advisement. We're going to preserve bond given the FOJ case. When there's an FOJ case that involves a capital matter in another state, there's no right to bond here. I think that makes bond in the Colorado cases academic at best. I would like to note that Mr. Miller is invoking his rights under the 5th and 6th Amendment by the states by the 14th Amendment. Mr. Miller does not wish to speak to law enforcement or to the press. Any request as such should be routed through my office, the Durango Public Defender's Office. I want to be very clear that Mr. Miller's rights remain no matter what he's accused of. He has a right to a fair trial. He has all the rights that anybody in this country does. We will not be waiving extradition here, and we will be fighting this every step of the way. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Van Zandt. So I'm just going to ask the people, they've waived their rights. They've been brought forth for all three matters. Do the people have any requests to the court with respect to that at this time?
Yes, Judge. We still ask the court to set bail of the two Colorado state matters and to order no bail consistent with the underlying warrant in the fugitive of justice matter. Judge, I think very generally, I'll just leave it that our argument is that Mr. Miller is an extreme risk to the danger to the public in our community here in Pagosa Springs. He's an extreme flight risk. And so we're going to ask that the court, again, recognize the no bail in the fugitive of justice matter and set something above schedule on the other matters. The misdemeanor matter, Judge, will defer to the court. I will say, most likely I'm anticipating that the state misdemeanor case will eventually be dismissed and those charges brought into the state CR matter. So that's where, Judge, I think the court should impose conditions of bond, largely in the CR matter. And we'd frankly just ask for any and all conditions that the court could impose. I don't know that there is a condition that would be imposed that keeps our community safe. So we're asking for no possession of alcohol, drugs, pretrial service monitoring, mental health evaluation, and GPS monitoring should defendant somehow post any kind of bond amount. We're asking for general protection orders in the two Colorado state matters pursuant to.
Hey, just a little clarity here. In this context, no bail for the fugitive from justice matter means the Colorado judge is not allowing him to bond out on the Utah murder case while Utah is trying to extradite him because of how serious those Utah charges are. So Utah has charged him with aggravated murder, which is punishable by life in prison, and depending on how it's filed, can be treated as capital level offense. Colorado is holding him as a fugitive from justice for those Utah charges under the Uniform Criminal Extradition Act. Under Colorado law, judges do not have to grant bail to a fugitive when the demanding state charges are punishable by death or life imprisonment. So when the court recognizes no bail for the fugitive of justice matter, it means he will stay in Colorado custody on the Utah homicide case until Utah's governor warrants and extraditions are resolved. There's no bond amount he can post to get out on the Utah case while the extradition process plays out. And the only bond the judge can set is on any separate Colorado charge, like the concealed weapon count. But even if he posted that, the no bail fugitive hold for Utah keeps him in jail.
18-1, 1001 CRS. And Judge, unless the court is inclined to entertain entering bail in the FOJ matter, I'll rest there. If the court is inclined, then I'd ask to make a further record, Judge. So thank you.
Well, right now, let's talk about the FOJ matter, which is 26 CR 21. Under state statute, a person arrested as a fugitive may not be admitted to bail if the offense charged in a demanding state is punishable by death or life imprisonment. Because Utah charges involve aggravated murder, which is punishable by death or life imprisonment, bond is not available on the fugitive matter. I don't believe the defense wants to weigh in right now, but if they do, I'll yield to you.
Your Honor, again, all I will say is that Mr. Miller is innocent until proven guilty.
I recognize that.
But I have nothing further to weigh.
Okay, so we have that determination. Give me just a moment. So for the rest of this proceeding, if I could have you stand at the podium when you're speaking, so the record will show.
Understood, Your Honor.
Okay, so I want to go through each of these cases one at a time. On case 26M33, let me just.
Your Honor, can we approach briefly?
Yes, you may.
It's interesting. I'll let this play out a little bit, Russ. Oh, here we go. Hold on.
Parents, if your child plays Roblox, listen up. You could qualify for.
He wants a mental health examination.
Yeah, that's what I think. Let's see.
Okay. So with respect to case 26 CR 33, do the people want to specific on the bond? Well, it was identified that they wanted an additional, but I'd like each one to be clear for the record. Mr. Dudley.
Sure, Judge. So 26M33, Judge, we'll defer to the court. I guess that's an M2. Again, I'm anticipating that misdemeanor case would not proceed and the CR case will proceed. So Judge, and I think the cleanest there is to order a 750 PR that would be consistent with the M2 alleged.
And that's where I'm inclined right now to go, but I'm going to let both of you weigh in if you wish to. The M2 is 750 PR bond for that matter. That is what the court will issue on that matter.
Understood, Your Honor.
And then, Judge, the only other for that, for the misdemeanor case would be just issuing a general protection order, no specific request.
Which will issue as required under state statute. Title 18. Okay.
I have a question. Bond conditions.
The bond conditions that were requested, can you repeat those, Mr. Dudley?
Yes, Judge, and I think for the sake of 26M33, the people's request is condition of bond should be comply with bond in 26 CR 20.
That's
and then 26 CR 20, if we're ready for me to get there, Judge.
I think I'm ready.
So
ready.
So Judge, my request is again, any and all check boxes on that JDF form. We're asking for any and all conditions of bond that are available. Again, our position is there is not a single condition, nor many conditions that could provide for safety of Pagosa Springs. So we're asking for them all. Thank you, Judge.
Okay. And are you arguing for an amount in that?
Oh, Judge, we'd ask for $20,000 cash. That would be twice the amount of on-schedule bond for that.
Okay.
But again, from our perspective, extreme community safety and extreme flight risk.
Counsel.
Judge, like I mentioned before, we are reserving bond argument here. I think
Okay.
it's largely academic, so
Okay.
I'll address it at a later date.
Okay. I am going to go ahead and issue 20,000 cash in the felony matter in 26 CR 20. I realize that's reserved and the court will be ready if you wish to argue on any matter later related to bond.
Understood, Your Honor.
Okay. Is there anything else, Mr. Van Zandt, with Mr. Miller this morning?
Yes, Your Honor. I think we need to set new dates. I'm requesting I believe it's April 10th in Division 3 for the FOJ case. If I had to take a wild guess, I would imagine that the FOJ case is going to rule here. I think we could set the other cases out in May and then see where we're at with the FOJ case.
I just want to mention something. So the $20,000 bond is for the weapons case out of Colorado. So they're holding him on two different cases. Fugitive from justice for Utah aggravated murder charge, that's the extradition case, and on local Colorado charges for carrying a concealed weapon when the Pagosa Springs police arrested him. So on the fugitive Utah murder case, the judge said there is no bail because Utah's charges are punishable by life and potentially capital level, so we cannot bond out on that. Separately, on the Colorado concealed weapon charge, the judge imposed a $20,000 cash bond at the hearing. That's the court saying if this were just the Colorado weapons case, this is the amount you'd have to post to be released on that charge. But even if you could come up with $20,000, the no bail fugitive hold for Utah still keeps him in jail because the Utah case overrides it.
Okay.
Imagine being able to build an app with your...
It's almost done, Russ, this part. Let's just hold on.
For these cases?
For the two county court cases, May 14th or 28th, did you want to set those out?
We can set those for May 14th.
I suppose the other option, Judge, would be, given Mr. Dudley's representation that he intends to file to consolidate 26M33 into 26CR20, we could alternatively just set 26CR20 into Division 3 for arraignment on that April 10th date. I think it's, again, largely academic, but I will leave that up to the court. That would just keep everything together.
So you want to set 26 CR20 and Division 3
along with
on April 10th and go ahead and
that, I think that keeps everything together, Your Honor.
So 26 M33 will remain here.
I believe so.
26 CR20 will transfer to
Division 3 with the assumption that the state is looking
going
to
to consolidate
cases.
Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
We're binding it up, basically.
Essentially, yes.
That's, yes.
Although, I take that back, Judge. Apologies. If we bind over at this point, it waives prelim. So let's just keep it on the May date. Apologies.
Yeah. Why don't we just keep things the way they are right now? So on the May 14th date, we're going to have both of these go before me. Is
Yes,
that what's
Your Honor.
being requested right now?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do the people have any issue with that? Any objection?
No, Judge.
Okay. We'll set this for May 14th here in Division 1,
At 10 o'clock.
10 a.m.
And the April 10th date would be at 10 o'clock.
So we're going to, and so case 26 CR21 will be set before Judge Fay on April 10th in Division 3. At what time again, Madam Clerk?
10 o'clock.
At 10 o'clock.
Sounds good.
Is there anything else from the defense at this time?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. I believe that's Mr. Miller. done with that matter. Do the people wish to, we have another FOJ. Are you representing?
I'm representing both remaining.
Hey, Russ, look at this. So let's talk about the night in the shed and let's see how this fits, because I'm reading stuff now from the affidavit. So this could provide a little bit more clarity. So Margaret Oldroyd had no idea a 22-year-old stranger was on her property. Miller later told investigators he slipped into her backyard and spent the night in her shed, sleeping on her land while she was inside. He watched her drive away in her Buick LeSabre, and then went into her home while she was gone. When she returned, she sat down in her living room and turned on the TV. Miller hid behind a door, waiting until she was seated and absorbed in the screen. Then he stepped out and shot her in the back of the head with a 1911 style 45 caliber pistol as she watched television. Afterwards, he said he tried to clean up the best he could, dragged her body through an outbuilding and down into the cellar beneath the shed, where officers would later find her. He then stole her Buick and drove away, later telling police he did not like that car and wanted a different vehicle. So even if the idea formed that day to take her vehicle, kill her, whatever it was, after sleeping in the shed, this is premeditated instrumental murder. He stages on her property, uses surprise, shoots from behind, and conceals the body to delay discovery. That is consistent with first-degree premeditated homicide in most legal schemes. So, Russ, now how much planning do you infer from sleeping on her land, waiting behind the door, and then concealing the body? Does that push him closer to an organized offender profile despite his chaotic life?
I think it just seems to me like he's winking in and out. He's having moments of clarity, and he has moments where he's clearly disorganized. So you go to the trouble to clean up some, but then immediately after, you're in the hands of the police, you go ahead and just spill the beans. You tell them, "Oh, by the way, I have the pistol and the knife right here." It's really incongruent with. It's really incongruent, I think, with like what we see. Like when I was at San Quentin, I knew a lot of psychopaths, and every single one of them were choir boys, and no matter how they had got caught, they would deny, even to the point of when they were being executed. So I think that this guy, I think he's alternately, back and forth a little bit on whatever his mental condition is there. Certainly the part about where he was sleeping in the shed, I mean, that sounds a little bit like a stakeout, but it also sounds kind of like, oh, I woke up and I saw her and decided to kill her. So I think, I don't know, there's a lot of different angles on that.
So it's an old woman sleeping in her shed. So he's sleeping in an area where she may not find him. So, I mean, it could be a bit organized because he doesn't want to be found. I mean, I don't know. I mean, at this point, Russ, he has no way to get home. So he's just looking for, he's looking for a spot to crash. So probably has no money. So he finds a shed in an older woman's home. Now I've got some more clarity here. Stays on her property, sees the car, goes into her house, waits for her to watch TV, shoots her in the back of the head so she never sees it's coming. There's a lot of things here that is definitely going to be premeditated, and then tries to clean it up. Now, granted, again, I don't know what the history is behind this cross-country run, but it clearly states here he wants the car. Yeah, I don't see how.
That appears to be his mission, is to get the.
Yeah, I know you keep saying mission, Russ, but it's pretty logic that he knew what he was doing was wrong, because he clearly tried to clean it up.
Yeah, he at that point, at whichever point that he's coming in and out of some type of lucidness, when he approaches his when the police got him, then though he's just like, matter of fact, yeah, I killed him and it had to be done. And I'm going to be really interested to
had to be done to get the car.
That's not what he said, though. He said it had to be done.
Yeah, but you could assume the context would be had to be done for what? What did he take from there? He took the car.
If you're thinking about someone who is on the ball and knows what they're saying and thinking,
But why can't we assume that? Because the context is also the pattern. You could usually tell from the pattern the second time when he gets to the hikers, he does the same thing, takes a car for preference, kills them for the car. You seem to have a repetitive pattern here that he wants the car.
Yes, he wants the car to do what he wants to do, but he's not connected in any way to any sort of consequences, or he would not have given it up.
Plus, if that's the case, he wouldn't have tried to clean up.
Yeah, but see, you're only looking at it from a perspective of something that's linear. I'm saying that the mental effects that he's experiencing aren't linear. He is.
I think sometimes it's
in and out.
I think this is a lot more simple than that. I think. I mean, I don't know what brought him to the high. I mean, he hits a Buick. He hits a elk. He has no car.
But if it
maybe
was simple,
he's on the run.
He just say, "I didn't do nothing," and my mom.
I would guarantee. You know what's funny, Russ? How do we know at this point that he may not? Maybe they should look to see if he was. Maybe he had just committed another major crime. We don't know. Now he's on the run, just like a fugitive on the run. Got to keep moving. No different than we had David Sweat, and then back in the day when they escaped out of Dannemora, they got to keep moving. So I don't know why he's on the cross country run. Let's say he committed another felony. He doesn't want to get caught. He hits the elk. That's the first obstacle. So holy shit, I hit the elk. I need a vehicle. And he plays the nice right. He plays the nice route with the tow guy, because the tow guy, he's not going to be able to outmaneuver. Maybe he'd rather go after old people or women. So he doesn't go after the tow person.
And then this thing that he's running from, he just goes back home.
He's running from the scene, so he's not going back to the scene.
But he started out by running from home, and then
says he's an Iowa man and he ran towards Colorado. He's from Iowa.
I know, that's what I'm saying, though.
So he got found in Colorado.
But he left home to get to Colorado, and then as soon as all this happened to him in Colorado, he went back home.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We don't know what he did when he was out of state, but clearly there's some urgency in him having to get back home. So I'm not saying he committed the crime when he was home. He could have committed something wherever he was at now, and then now hits the elk. Has no way to get back because he has to get out of this area. There's definitely some urgency with him having to get out of the area. Then he's planning his escape, so he's probably moving in the direction of where he has to go, sees this area, crashes in the shed. I mean, to me, it kind of fits the pattern of a runaway fugitive to some level. Hides in the shed, waits for her to come home, parks the vehicle. I mean, to be honest with you, he didn't have to kill her if he was just going for the car, but he killed her. Killed her because maybe he was afraid that somehow she could have ID'd him. I don't know, because he didn't have to kill her. He could have just gotten the car from her at gunpoint, but he kills her, and he kills her and pretty much shoots her in the back. And then as we get to the hiker part, look how superficial her life, the Margaret's life was. Oh, I didn't like her car. So basically he killed her for no reason. Car's garbage anyway. And then he tries to clean it up. And the other question I have here, I said, when I asked the question, how much planning do you infer from sleeping on her land, waiting behind the door, and then concealing the body? Does that push him closer to an organized offender profile despite the chaos? I had it does. I put down for this crime, he's operating like an organized offender. He surveys the property, chooses a low-risk time to strike, uses a controlled shot, and manages the scene afterwards by hiding the body. The chaos in his broader life doesn't show up in his crime choices in the moment of offending. He's purposeful and tactical. I get what you're saying.
So he knew that she was going to come home alone.
He could have stalked the property. How long was he at the shed? 86-year-old woman. How do we know he didn't know that? But the point is, he snuck on while she was watching TV. But all I'm saying, seems to be pretty organized when he grabs that. But let's look at the hiker part. While Maggie's body lay hidden under the shed, So she's under the shed.
Uh-huh.
Linda and Natalie headed out. And that's a funny thing. How do we know he wasn't there in the shed digging a hole for her? And maybe he was sleeping, but also planning on burying her there. Because it said that her body lay hidden under the shed. So he could have been sleeping there, but he also could have been digging her grave there. Linda and Natalie headed out for their hike. They drove the white Subaru Outback out of Lyman, down SR 12 and onto a dirt road near the Coxcomb Trailhead. For them, it was a routine Aunt-Niece Canyon country. Miller drove Oldroyd's Buick up the same road and parked near the trail. He said he watched as Linda and Natalie arrived in the Subaru and got out to start their hike. He walked towards them with his pistol. According to his statement in court documents, he shot Natalie once in what he believed was the chest. She fell. He then shot Linda twice in the body. When Linda was still moving, he drew a knife and stabbed her multiple times in the heart while she was still alive. He dragged both bodies off the roadside into a dry creek bed below the road and laid them side by side out of immediate sight. A BLM Ranger later documented 3 spent 45 casings and a spent 20 gauge shell, plus blood and drag marks consistent with his account. Miller abandoned the Buick, stole the Subaru and their credit cards, and used at least one card to buy gas while fleeing Utah. So these are opportunistic but still premeditated killings. He surveils the victim, decides to kill to obtain their Subaru, then executes that plan with both firearm and knife, and the planning window is short, but intent is clear and deliberate. So does his escalation from gunfire to hands-on knife attack on Linda suggest comfort with close-range violence and control, or does it read more like panic? I have to make sure she can't identify me.
No, I think it reads like something is really wrong with this guy. Because listen to the way that plays out right there. Right? It says he shot her in what he thought was her chest. He's giving the detectives a blow-by-blow description.
Russ, people do that,
Well,
Russ. That doesn't mean they're crazy, Russ. Let's be honest. People have given.
I'm not saying that he's crazy, but that's not psychopathy. That's
But you're only leaning on the fact that he admitted to what he's doing. That made it's just
no. That's not what I've said at all. I relied on his age, all this dissemblance, and all of this stuff where he is. He is starting to, not truly decompensate, but decompensate down into his schizophrenia, and I just think that that's what that looks like. He goes from one crime scene where he kills one person to another crime scene where he kills 2 people, and then all of a sudden he's willing to have a sit down with the detectives.
Russ, he could be just thrilled by doing it, Russ. He could be highly narcissistic, and this could be him just bragging about it too. I mean, it could be
so that he never ever gets to do it again.
Maybe the thrill's over. It's that short-lived. It's a spree.
Those guys. I mean, every spree killer and serial killer that I've known is they.
He's not a serial killer, Russ.
I didn't say that. I said every serial killer or spree killer that I've known has denied the fact. When I knew Ramon Salcido, yes, he denied the fact. I've never seen anyone except someone who was so overwrought by what they had done, which means guilt and shame, ever admit to it unless they were, just completely batshit crazy.
I don't always agree with that, because I get what you're saying. I do see that, Russ, but he's telling the story. It's connected. He's given the motive. He wanted the vehicle. All because he sat down and started telling him. Listen. So maybe he's 22 years old. He's not too familiar with how this all works. I mean, maybe a little pressure from a well-experienced detective could easily push down on a 22-year-old inexperienced with this side of interrogation. And then you got the evidence against him was already very strong. He can try to control the narrative by explaining it. He may have believed cooperation could help him legally, and he might not be sophisticated about his rights and personality factors, impulsive, talkative, and low insight. Family already portrayed him as a habitual liar with odd thinking that type can swing between denial and over disclosure. Once they start talking, they can overshare details. And by the way, if he was in such a panic, he took time to hide the bodies. It's not like, I remember the Barnes and Nobles, the story we did with the Barnes and Nobles about the older lady that was stabbed, and the guy claimed to have a mental health breakdown. I know that's still going through the process now, but one of the big things that they looked at in context, not one of many things, but one of the big things was that the person just left the knife on the scene, kind of left it in her in the woman's back, kind of just, and then, I mean, I still believe she was.
He does all that. He does all that to hide all the bodies and everything, but then he confesses.
Russ, yeah, but I don't see the confess as an automatic linear route to him having a mental health breakdown. I just can't connect that alone. I don't see that as a linear route.
The flat affect and everything else, he's dissembling.
But dissembling, I think, would just be more of if he was going through something mental, there would still be like, what have I, like, not understanding what they've done, not being so clear with what had happened. You know what I mean? Like not being so clear as, oh, this is what I did and this is why I did it. Oh my God, this person knew exactly what they did and why they did it. If he was falling apart, wouldn't he be trying to piece these things together in the moment when they finally catch him?
I think he's disconnected from that reality.
No,
he did not confess. He reported.
He reported fine, but right. But what I'm saying is, Russ, is he's definitely aware of the consequences because he hit both people now. He hit all three. So he definitely knows. And he also literally told, I killed her so she couldn't ID me. This is someone that's clearly thinking logically.
But he never said that he killed them because they could identify him.
With the knife here. Did I read that wrong? It said, when Linda was still moving, he drew the knife and stabbed her multiple times in the heart while she was still alive. Wait, where's the ID part? Hold on. Where did I just read that? Hold on. Maybe I'm wrong and I apologize. I read something about where did I read that? Oh, right here. Oh, that was in the question. Does his escalation from gunfire to hands-on knife attacks on Linda suggest comfort with close-range violence and control, or does it read more like, sorry, panic? I have to make sure she can't identify. Thanks, I appreciate that, Russ. I read that. It was quoted in the profiling question. So this is what I have here. It's probably primarily about control and certainty, not a blind rage. The shots don't immediately stop Linda, so the knife becomes a tool of last resort to guarantee death. That tells you he's willing to get physically close to feel the resistance and still keep going. That level of hands-on violence suggests he's not just afraid of being identified. He also lost the normal internal brakes most people have around up-close killing. Let's go to the husband real quick. The husband, a ranger, and the second victim. When Linda and Natalie didn't come home, their husbands drove out to the trailhead to look for them. They found both women dead near the creek bed with the Subaru gone. Around 4:25 to 4:30 p.m., they flagged down a BLM ranger who confirmed the deaths and called in the homicide. At the scene, officers noticed a Buick that didn't belong to the victims. A plate check tied it to Margaret Oldroyd in Lyman. Deputies went to Maggie's home, found signs of violence inside, and discovered her body in the cellar beneath the shed, exactly where Miller said he left her. Within hours, investigators had fused the two scenes into one narrative. 3 women dead, 2 locations, 1 suspect in a stolen Subaru. So again, he's careful enough to drag and hide the bodies, but careless enough to leave a traceable vehicle at the scene. That combination points to partial organization. He manages what's right in front of him, but doesn't think like an investigator, obviously. So, Russ, when someone hides bodies but abandons an easily traceable car, what does that mix of partial cleanup, obvious mistake tell you about his planning capacity? So maybe there's a part of being disorganized there. But
no criminal has great planning capacity, though. They're not very risk averse, and it doesn't matter whether they have a mental issue or not. They wouldn't commit the crime in the first place if that was the case. And that's why I see them, make mistakes all the time. Even today I saw I saw one guy, make a mistake. He was trying to do better, and just something happened, and he ended up assaulting someone. So, I just think that there's a limited amount that you can read into that, because if serial killers were the master planners that they portray them in Hollywood, none of them would ever be caught.
Yeah, and by the way, he also has the urgency now of he just killed 2 people, so he's probably looking to get away now, as opposed to hiding the car. He's now more focused on getting away. I don't think. And just to, what did he see the car first and decide to go after them? You literally steal a car and then risk it all because it wasn't the car you liked. So when a triple homicide in a stolen car, Utah agency calls for help. DPS, the Wayne County Sheriff's Office, BLM, and FBI, and out-of-state partners coordinated to track the Subaru. They use license plate readers, vehicle tracking services, surveillance footage, and credit card transactions. One husband pinged the Subaru's key fob via an app, placing it near Farmington, New Mexico around 9 p.m. By early Thursday morning, police in Pagosa Springs, Colorado, over 350 miles from Wayne County, found the Subaru abandoned in a park area. Using drones and a canine, they located Miller on foot nearby. He still had concealed handguns and a large knife. He was booked on Colorado weapon charges and then linked formally to the Utah murders, facing 3 counts of aggravated murder and related charges. So, again, classic spree behavior, multiple killings in one continuous episode across jurisdictions, driven by movement and escape with no cooling off period between events. So, Russ, if he made it back to Iowa, do you think he would have cooled off and returned to property crime, or does this pattern suggest he could repeat this solution the next time he felt cornered? That's the question, Russ. What caused the urgency to the point where he felt he was running from something, maybe afraid of being caught, and this all became urgent? I think that's more reasonable. He maybe he put it on his mind that he was on the run, and all of them were obstacles, and he had to get that car. It had to be done so he could remain free.
See, I just see it. I just see it as a progression. I just see it as a gradient, slipping lower, lower, and lower.
So it says, once someone has solved the problem with triple homicide, successfully got 100 miles away, that pathway is now burned in. He might have gone back to smaller crimes day to day, but the ceiling on his violence is now permanently higher. The next time he felt trapped by money, police, or life, he would already know that killing strangers for their resources work, at least temporarily. That makes future escalation far more likely than de-escalation. So if you got the mental health breakdown, I'm going to say maybe more in general, something where he felt trapped. So that gets both sides of the spectrum. I think you want to do the mental health breakdown, that's fine. I still feel he felt trapped, like a fugitive. Now, this is his explanation of what investigators say. So in interviews, Miller allegedly confessed and walked investigators through the sequence, sleeping in the shed, killing Maggie as she watched TV, hiding her body, stealing her Buick, going to the trailhead, killing Linda and Natalie, dragging their body, stealing the Subaru and cards, and fleeing until his arrest. He said he killed the women to get their cars and money so he can go home. He insisted the murders had to be done, even as he claimed he did not like to do it. Utah officials have emphasized there is no evidence he knew any of the victims or had prior ties to Wayne County or Utah. Each woman appears to have been killed for convenience, specifically for her vehicle, not for who she was. So right now he fits an instrumental, goal-driven homicide profile, violence as a means to an end, transport or money, rather than a ritual or fixation he's repeating for its own sake. But his willingness to ambush, execute, and stab shows deep deficits in empathy and inhibition. So when he says it had to be done for money and a ride, how much do you buy the instrumental story versus seeing it as a rationalization sitting on top of entitlement and lack of empathy?
Say that one more time.
So when he says it had to be done and we got for money and a ride, how much do you buy the instrumental story versus seeing it as a rationalization sitting on top of entitlement and lack of empathy?
See, I just with him, there's never, and we can find out differently, right? It doesn't appear that there's any rage. It doesn't appear that there's any sexual component. It doesn't appear that he was, you know, completely trapped there. His brother offered to come out and get him. Hey, bro, no, it's okay. Why don't you just send me some cash? I mean, there's so many others things, and that's why I say this is truly an outlier event, and that's why I came back to what my solution was. So I nothing else to me fits. So I don't think of it, you know.
He doesn't fit someone that's maybe like a fugitive on the run type thing, where maybe he did do something, he's running from it.
Why? How come he didn't have his brother send him some money instead or something then?
Well, it doesn't look like him and his brother have a good rapport. His brother calls him a habitual liar. You think his brother's going to be giving him money? He doesn't trust anything his brother says.
His brother offered to drive all the way there and pick him up. Why did his brother do that if he's a habitual liar?
It says the instrumental story is real in that those were his goals, but it also was a rationalization. Lots of people get stranded and don't kill anyone. The difference is entitlement and empathy. He believes his need to get home outranks their right to live, and he can emotionally tolerate turning them into means to an end. That's the psychological core here that had to be done. Line is his way of framing what is fundamentally a choice. So I got two more questions, Russ. Definitely, I have to lean towards he something became so urgent that he had to get the hell out of Dodge. Clearly, whether that was in reality or whether it was psychological, which I don't think it was psychological. This guy looks like he looks to be a. I mean, here's the funny thing too. I mean, do you just graduate to just randomly killing people?
The progression would be something more that a serial killer might do. A spree killer like this is generally on a rampage. You know, even though, for instance, Ted Bundy was both a serial killer and a spree killer.
Well, only towards the end.
Yeah, only toward the end, and in a frenzy, but it was still part of a psychopathy and a rage at the end because of how much he hated women. And to me, that's the thing, is this just lacks emotion. This is being, you know, completely dead inside, and I don't mean sociopath dead, because sociopaths will you know, tell you all kinds of lies. They're not going to admit to a crime. That's why this one is just so different to me.
I think with Bundy too. I think Bundy thought his time was coming to an end because it was in Florida at the time, and
he just escaped from a jail, so he was
on the run, and then he also got the 12. He went younger too, because he used to go after girls that would favor what his girlfriend looked like, but that's the first time he got the young girl. There was a young girl that he went after, so he was just on a spree because at that point he knew. I think this was his last ditch effort. This was his, you know, his final act. And then Russ, it says here's what's visible right now, because they looked at the psychological stuff. In Colorado, prosecutors asked for a mental health evaluation as a bond condition. During his first appearance, the DA requested that if Miller was ever released on the Colorado weapons case, conditions should include things like no drugs, alcohol, GPS, pretrial monitoring, and a mental health evaluation. That's standard risk management language in a serious case. It doesn't mean they're endorsing an insanity narrative. It's if he's out, we want him evaluated and supervised. Defense has not publicly framed him as insane yet. His public defender has asserted his rights, refused further police interviews, and is fighting extradition, but there is no public filing or statement saying we're pursuing insanity or he didn't know right from wrong. Media and family references are light but present. His brother and other reporting mentioned he was a habitual liar with bizarre thoughts. Commentators toss around terms like sociopath or manic, but that's media language, not formal mental health push. And his own statements cut against a classic insanity posture. He told investigators he needed cars and money. That's it, had to be done, and that he used the cards for gas to get home. That shows goal-directed, reality-based reasoning. He knows who the victims are, why he's killing them, and how it helps him. exactly the kind of awareness prosecutors point to when they argue he knew right from wrong. So right now, the state is not pushing mental health as an explanation. They're calling him extremely dangerous and arguing for no bail extradition. The defense is doing what any competent lawyer would do, locking down his statements, and may eventually explore mental health privately, but they haven't staked out that ground publicly. And the only formal mental health piece on record is that bond condition request for an evaluation if he were somehow released in Colorado, which is about managing risk, not excusing the crime. So if mental health or insanity defense becomes part of the Utah case later, you expect to see explicit motions, competency evaluations, or statements from his Utah counsel, and none of that at this point is on the surface yet. And then so let's just last two parts. So we already answered this. Why is this a spree and not a serial series? So at first, the facts look like the start of a serial killer case, multiple women, separate scenes, suspect unknown. But once investigators had the full timeline in his statements, they have consistently framed it as a spree, multi-victim killing. Serial homicide involves separate events with cooling off periods where the offender returns to some version of normal life, often driven by repeating fantasies and sometimes marked by a signature ritual. Spree offenders kill multiple victims in one continuous episode or very tight windows, often across locations without cooling off, typically for immediate instrumental motives. And I'm assuming in this case it's because he's continuing to be on the run. I think he's still on the run. In Miller's case, all three killings occur in one day in one county along a single arc from Oldroyd's home to the Trailhead to his flight out of state. There's no break where he pauses, reintegrates, and then reoffends. His stated motive is practical, cars and money, and there's no public evidence of a signature or fantasy ritual beyond what's needed to kill, conceal, and flee. So based on what he did, he's best described as a young, transient, instrumentally motivated spree killer who commits multiple premeditated murders in a single continuous episode with opportunistic victim selection and short window planning. So Russ, given that profile, transient, instrumental, short window, premeditation, what's the most important lesson? Trying to spot this type earlier, hardening soft targets like rural homes and trailheads, or changing how small communities respond when a stranded stranger shows up? I mean, there's not really much to answer there, Russ. It says the most realistic lever is how small communities respond to red flag strain. So again, last part, Russ, is after his arrest in Colorado, Miller made his first court appearance in Pagosa Springs. In that hearing, his public defender formally identified himself, asserted Miller's Fifth and Sixth Amendment rights, and told the court Miller would not be speaking to law enforcement or the press. All requests would go through the public defender's office. The defense also made clear they would not waive extradition and would fight this every step of the way as a fugitive of justice case tied to Utah's aggravated murder charge. The prosecutor described Miller as an extreme danger to the community and an extreme flight risk, asking for no bail on the fugitive from justice matter because Utah's aggravated murder counts are death or life eligible and a high cash bond on the Colorado felony. The judge agreed that under Colorado's law, there's no right to bail on a fugitive case when the demanding state charges are punishable by death or life imprisonment, and set a separate $20,000 cash bond on a Colorado felony while scheduling future dates in April and May. So from the court's perspective, he's treated as a capital eligible fugitive of justice with no bail, reflecting not just the severity of the charges, but the assessment that there is no set of conditions that could safely manage him in the community. And this is a question, is when you see a court classify someone as such an extreme risk, no bail on the fugitive case, high bond on the local felony, does that line up with the behavioral picture we built? And what does it tell you about how seriously the system views the possibility that he could offend again if released? You think he could highly, right? You think this was someone that would offend again, whether he's going through a mental health breakdown or whether he feels trapped again, correct? I mean, he's still someone that is progressively becoming more violent, correct?
Yeah, but definitely progressing. He's hit the scale from, from fugitive to telling everybody he was coming back home, to one body and then two bodies, and he's already shown a propensity to drive across multiple state lines. So they did the right thing. I mean, there was zero chance that he was going to be released on any of the bonds. And if people wonder why that gets so complex, is because he's in multiple jurisdictions now, and so it has to do with the compact with regards to whether or not he's going to be extradited. I think the attorney is a little bit. I think the attorney is a little bit out there saying that he's going to fight extradition. I have no idea what that's about. Oh, yes, I do. The attorney wants to get, future people to hire him.
Yeah, I also think he's going to try to. Remember, we didn't do a plea or not yet, but I think he's going to try to say that my client's innocent. So I think he's going to try to fight for extradition because he probably doesn't believe his client. Well, I don't know. We got to see, because the client openly admitted to the investigators. Yeah. I don't even know if they're going to be able to use that eventually, because he's going to say he wasn't aware of his rights. So everything that was admitted probably can't be used.
Oh, they Mirandized him 100%.
But did he have a lawyer there?
He doesn't have to have a lawyer there. Are you willing to waive your rights, or would you rather speak to a lawyer? No, I'll talk to you. He doesn't have to have a lawyer.
I wonder if that really holds a lot of weight, because I could say, like, right now, before I lawyer up, I'll tell you everything. And later on, a lawyer gets involved and say, well, he didn't know what he was doing. And I mean, it could hold some weight, but I'm sure sometimes they could push that argument. And now everything that was said doesn't count.
Well, he's had some other go rounds where he's apparently been read his Miranda rights more than a few times. So, yeah, I think the lawyers will try that, but I don't think that's gonna go anywhere.
Well, I will tell you, Russ,
especially if this is his first confession to anything.
Well, when you sent me this case, I had a chance to look at it, and then I went out to dinner, so we were learning it as we go, which is the best way to do it, guys. I think that is what allows for the discussion to go instead of us just reading facts. It's good for us to kind of get an understanding of it and then learn it as we go, because it allows us to communicate. Because, again, it's what we bring everything to the end. It's kind of how we talk to things at the beginning that gets us to an overall picture. So now we actually understand the case a lot more better because we advocated for our sides as opposed to just reading off facts. So this was good. I got familiar with it, and then I put everything out for the discussion. When I first saw this, Russ, I didn't think of the psychological component. I mean, it's in the back of my mind. What I thought of is just a guy on the run from something, and I was within the context of he probably did something. I like the feeling of being trapped. And I think I could fit with that a little bit better, because everything he did at that point was literally, I got to get the hell out of Dodge, which seems to be pretty motivated. It's goal-oriented. I didn't have anything else that pointed to someone that I feel would be able to say at that point they were having a psychological breakdown, and at that point they didn't know what they were doing was right or wrong. Because even we follow the Nick Reiner cases like that. I mean, they say, like, when people are having that breakdown, it's got to be in the moment. And even though,
Unless
a lot of
people
think, what is it?
Unless it's organic. Meaning that it's part of the disease process.
I don't think this is, I mean, I think they're going to probably play the psychological card, but I this would never hold weight. This guy's definitely getting a life sentence, or, well, I know the death penalty is usually for show, but they're not. I don't think they're gonna.
Not in Utah. Well, it used to be not in Utah. I don't know what they're doing there anymore.
Yeah, but I don't think this is gonna go that route. I think that if they try to, I think they should probably see what the evidence is and fight it through the evidence, as opposed to trying to say he had a moment of insanity. It's not like as I said, the Nick Reiner case. That's an interesting case. But we'll see. We don't know what this guy's history is. We don't know if he did something that made him on the run. We don't know why the hell he was out where he was out. So that's going to be interesting.
But later he came back and said that he was just trying to get home.
Yeah, but right. But we don't know what.
And that's really incongruent. If you're running, then you don't go, oh, now I need to go back home. That's just
Russ. Russ. But Russ, you're making it. But Russ, I could leave my house right now, meet with somebody, do something foolish, and now the first spot I'm going to want to go is go home. Because why not? Why would I not want to run back home?
After going 3 states over?
No one said that. We don't know what he did, but no one said he did something near home. That's not what remember, it's what he's running away from what he could have done. No one's saying that was at home. It could be.
he was under supervision and not supposed to be going anywhere.
Yeah, he had the pending charges. But what I'm saying is, it could make sense that he wants to go back home. We don't know what the hell he went out, wherever the hell he went. We know very
I'm saying
little.
if he did something, he wouldn't be headed back home.
Why not?
Well, you're the one that said that. Well, maybe he's running from something.
Right, he's running from something, but he's running towards home because maybe he's under the impression that dumb enough that whatever it is, they'll never pin it to me. So I'm going to go run home and escape from it. I'll say I was home. They'll never get me. But to say that he wouldn't be running home, that he's got to be a psychological breakdown, or that he admitted to these things got to be a psychological breakdown. I don't always think that's the case. I get people that openly admit something because they don't want to lie. It's fuck it, I'm done. I'm caught. It is what it is. I'm done. Just again, and that's how they also control the narrative. What some of them may just say, you know what? There, now you got nothing on me. Now I'm giving you everything, so now you're not going to control the dialogue. You're not going to have your moment that you were this best detective. Nope, you didn't get me to break. This is what it is. And sometimes their ego will also motivate them to just admit what they've done. And then later on, if they want to challenge it, they could say, oh, I admitted under duress or all this other BS. But in the moment, there are people that will openly admit to something. And then, as I said, if I went out of town and because I have nowhere else to go back to, it looks like this guy was desperate because he had nothing, no money. So something was definitely not planned, because it looked like he had no money, no nothing, or whatever, no cash, no nothing. So something happened. And then maybe he wants to get back home as quick as possible to get away from what it is that he did. That's not illogical. I mean, I get what you're thinking. You're thinking he may not want to go home because he may not want to be caught. But that may not even be in his mind. His mind may be, I want to go home so I can be safe. Some people can look at it both ways. If I get home, I get caught. If I get home, I'm safe. I could say I was home. I could build an alibi here. I just want to know what happened. I think we would know a lot more if we know why he was on the journey. Once we know why he's on the journey, that's the context we need to find out. Do we really have? Russ, let's just do it this way. 3 killings, right? We're both on the same page that they're somewhat random, but they're motivated by what? I believe they're motivated by goal-oriented behavior to get a car and get the hell out, whatever that context is. But definitely that's what we see: car, money, get the hell out. You believe it's targeted because he's having a mental health breakdown and he just chooses to kill these 3 women.
Yeah, but you were saying he left to run away from something that hasn't been discovered yet, but now he's running back to it.
No, left the area, not left home. I'm not counting home as the default here. I'm counting wherever he was. Whenever we enter this story on this case, he's already going back home. So it's the destination before he was going back home. When I read this crime, I wasn't reading it from the whole story of him leaving his house, traveling and going back.
But you were saying that we don't know what else he might have done, what he might have been running from.
We don't know, but all we know is he wasn't home. We know he wasn't home. When we entered this story, we entered it halfway into his trip. He's already on his way back. We don't know what he did when he left home and whatever that destination. We don't know. We need to find that out. That'd be interesting. But I never said he was running away from home or what he did at home. Wherever he was at before he was going back home. Okay. I think that's very important. I think that's important. So again, we do have 2 pictures, Russ. We have a person that could be feeling trapped for whatever reason, and then clearly wants to get out of Dodge and kills whoever and takes vulnerable targets. I'm going to take her car. I'm going to take their car, kill them. I'm out. Or you have a guy that all of a sudden has a mental health breakdown and kills 3 people, but still takes their car, one person uses their credit card to get gas. The motivation to me is definitely got to get a car, got to get home. or got to get out of here. I don't know if he's going home, but that's clearly there. That's clearly there. So if you got the psych thing, I get it, but I find that tough to believe that.
So why was he there?
Well, that's what we need to know, Russ. But to be honest with you, Russ, within that context, I think there's more evidence pushing towards the fact that he feels trapped, and everything he's doing right now is to get out of whatever's causing that feeling. That's what we don't know. But to sit there and just say it's strictly a psychological breakdown and not be open to the other perspectives, if you have to leave.
I'm just saying that if he feels so trapped, I'm sure he felt much more trapped after he just, with flat affect tells them exactly what he did, gave a blow description.
Russ, you don't know, Russ, if people are it could be not be law enforcement.
Well, there's a lot of things.
Could be people after him that he says, you know what? Fuck it, I'll admit it because it will keep me. Listen, I'm homeless right now, right? He's stranded right now, right? He's been living on the streets so far in these last couple of days, had no money. Maybe he thought, you know what, I'll admit it, and he'll give me a good stay at least I have a stay overnight here. So I could go ahead and figure out, because maybe there was a threat coming after him. We don't know. And maybe he thought at that point it would be safer to stay in the police station.
So now he's paranoid?
Yeah, I never denied the paranoid, Russ, but paranoid doesn't always mean you're crazy, Russ.
No,
paranoid doesn't always mean you're crazy.
I'm just saying that I constructed mine with 17 points that show some possibility of being schizophrenic, and that's all. I'm not trying to read anything more or less into what I derived.
I know, but you're reading a mental health diagnosis that I get it, but the problem is, Russ, is there's a lot of context here that shows goal-oriented behavior.
But now you're reading unknown enemies into it.
No, Russ. The point is, Russ, is at the end of the day, what can you clearly say he was doing, right? Did he kill the the three females because he wanted to get a car and he was driving out? Yes, right? Because he was in a car, dropped off the Buick, got into the Subaru, so we can clearly see that. So I could defer easily. I mean, defer. I could infer, you know what I mean? I could build an inference, whatever it is. You know what the word is. I think it's infer. I can infer that within that context, I can easily say, hey, he's got to be running from something. So now my filter is based on what could he be running from. So he could be running from the law. He could be running from people that got him angry. And that's still within my direct, my narrative. I don't see I'm far off from that narrative. And I did mention when you said paranoid, I did say, but paranoid doesn't always mean, you're going through some, you're schizophrenic or schizoaffective. That doesn't mean, I think honestly, if you look at everything that's in front of you, he clearly killed them to get the car, money, and get the hell out of that area.
So
that's what he did.
So this is not an outlier case. This is common criminality.
I would agree it is, yeah. No different than cases we followed in the past where you got someone that's so desperate because they feel trapped that they kill to get... Listen, Russ, if they would have killed these three women and they didn't take their car, didn't take money, none of that, just killed them and left the scene, whatever it is, killed them in a panic or whatever it was, okay, that's weird. But he killed them and took their car to get the hell out.
And so you don't find anything unusual about the confession?
No, I don't, Russ. I don't. I feel there could be, he's young. He could have been pressured by, I mean, when you say unusual, you're only saying unusual based on what, that it had to be psychosis, or you're also saying that it could be unusual because you could have an experienced detective, an inexperienced 22-year-old kid that just opens up, or could be bragging. You know how kids could be young and ego walks in and thinks he's with the detective and win-loss. I'm not going to let you get the best of me. Yeah, I did it. Yeah, I did it. You're not going to get, yeah, I did it. I don't see nothing. It happened.
And gave them a blow-by-blow description. It doesn't happen very often.
So let me ask you a question. Do you think that the odds would be that you would have to be criminally insane, or would the better chance that you have an experience?
I didn't say criminally insane. Is
well, no, let's just say insane or going through schizophrenia, whatever it was. Do you think an experienced detective could easily get somebody to admit something if they're inexperienced, like a 22-year-old kid?
He's not inexperienced. He had several arrests, and he went through some kind of something with this driver's commercial driver's license that they repealed from him. So how does he go from being on the ball enough to get that CDL and lose it within 90 days?
Russ, obviously he must be admitting to a lot of stuff because he keeps on losing. How do we know he's not admitting things in the past? Because that worked out for him in the past.
Well, I'm just saying, but I mean, that's just.
I mean, I just can't say he admitted it, and he must be crazy to admit it.
But I had 17 points. I read all 17 points of things that are indicators. So it wasn't me just saying it.
No, I didn't say that, Russ. But he
is at the right age.
Yeah, Russ. Technically, to be honest with you, I get it. But he also could have been doing criminal acts since he was a kid. We don't know, and he could just be progressing towards what natural.
I know there's a lot of
criminal evolution could be.
There's a lot of we don't know here. But when I look to fill in the gaps of the things that we don't know versus his odd behavior, that's what I come up with.
Yeah, but you're also missing the odds that most people that are, let's say, schizophrenic are nonviolent.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about those ones. I'm talking about the ones that go out there with a reason and then have a flat affect.
Russ, he clearly, I mean, listen, I oversee the mental health stuff you dealt with them. I also oversee them. I've been on the other end of forced meds and goal-oriented behavior. At this point here, he knew what he wanted and he went for it. Now, regardless of whatever we don't know what I get it, but in the moment when he did it, when I'm talking about someone that's, like you said, schizophrenic, I get it. There's voices that tell them something. That's a big thing.
No.
Russ, look it up.
There are different types of schizophrenia.
No, Russ,
right?
I get it, Russ, but look it up. The ones that drive people to kill or do acts of violence are usually controlled by auditory voices.
Those are the ones that are very obvious and that come to the forefront like that. But there are other ones that just don't have that type of they don't have those type of features with regards to their diagnosis.
Russ, there's the small amount of ones that commit to violence. It's usually a lower amount, usually matched to the ones visual are rare. But auditory hallucinations are still rare.
And also, you can't say that he doesn't have a multiple diagnosis. I just think that schizophrenia is the thing that took him over the edge. So he could have multiple diagnoses with regards to, probably antisocial personality disorder and some other things. I'm just saying.
Well, Russ, antisocial personality disorder to me is just another way of saying someone has criminal behavior. I mean, that's just lack of empathy.
So his criminal behavior facets that end up that
doesn't mean that they're insane in the moment and don't know what they've done was right or wrong.
Insanity is a legal term.
No, I get that, Russ. But in the end, Russ, when you're saying schizophrenia, there's a part of that means that person has lost some control of reality.
Yeah, delusional.
He has not lost control of reality if he's getting a car and getting the hell out.
Okay.
He killed them because he's getting a car and money. Look, wait, Russ, if you look up the thought here, Russ, look.
Okay, I know. You don't have to convince me. I'm not trying to convince you.
I want to see something. Hold on. Killing. So in my line, incorrect, we do the forced meds. We do hear their cases. Schizophrenia that leads to killing is very uncommon, but the risk of serious violence and homicide, or for the risk of violence and homicide, most people with schizophrenia are never violent. The majority of homicides are committed by people without any psychotic illness. Large reviews suggest that people with schizophrenia or other psychotic disorders account for roughly 3 to 6% of homicides in the Western countries. A Swedish study found that about 3% of all homicide defendants over 40 years had schizophrenia. In England, one study estimated that around 6% of homicides were committed by people with schizophrenia. For an individual with schizophrenia, a lifetime risk of committing homicide is still low, on the order of a few tenths of a percent, even though it's higher than for someone without the illness. In population studies, about 8 to 13% of people with schizophrenia have a conviction for some form of violent offense over many years versus about 5 to 8% of control. When schizophrenia increases risk is when you have persecutory delusions, believing others are plotting to harm or kill you, are strongly associated with increased risk of violence and schizophrenia, or command hallucinations. Voices telling someone to hurt or kill can contribute, especially when the person believes the voice is powerful, punitive, or a real authority.
Right. So when you look at the disorganized schizophrenic, though, rather than ones that are having, voices talk in their head, fragmented illogical thinking, the violence is typically, the word you used earlier talking about this, instrumental, serving an internal logical purpose, not rage-driven, not fear-driven. There's no command hallucination. It's the next logical step in a broken string of reasoning.
But where's the illogical if he's robbing someone for their car and leaving? It's logical, right? I want the car, I want to get out.
It was
I'm
logical
kill the
for him
person
to
for
kill
the car.
them.
Huh?
It was logical for him to kill them and then to go ahead and just cop to it. How's that logical?
Russ, there's plenty of reasons why people. Let's remove the confession, Russ, because there's plenty of reasons.
Well, no, we're not removing. We're not
commit to a confession, Russ.
We're not removing the confession.
You're pigeonholing the confession.
I'm giving you what my assessment is.
Being crazy to admit it.
If we're going to go all over the place and talk about, well, it could be this or it could be this or it could be this or it could be this, then I'm just telling you what my thoughts on it are.
No, I get it, Russ. But Russ, you're using. I get it, Russ. But listen, the strength of your argument should not be based on what was done after, but rather what was done the moment. Then I could say he cleaned up the scene. That's immediate after what happened. That's pretty logical.
I'm not saying that everything has to be illogical. He doesn't have to be.
So, Russ, if you anchor everything in the fact that shot somebody for a car.
Okay, I'm not trying to anchor everything. I'm not trying to.
No, I'm just saying. But we should anchor somewhere because it gives context. If you anchor something,
how is there any context on what's going on inside his head if he's a schizophrenic?
But Russ, because you pigeoned it to that, I don't see that. What I'm saying is this, Russ: if he killed somebody, right? Let's say for the car, right? The car and money, right? We know he did that. Cleaned up the scene. There's an anchor there in the fact that he knows what he's doing. We have to admit he knows what he's doing. He knows what he did was wrong. Now, with that context, I look at the confession later on in that context.
And then you made up a reason that he confessed. So if you're gonna say that everything is logical and sequential, then why did he confess? So then you go off the reservation and you come up with a reason.
No, remember, Russ, I gave the confession not to be internal. I'm sticking with external motivators. I stuck with the fact that it was it could have been a detective. It could have been the pressure from the remember. If I'm not pushing, he's having an internal breakdown. That's your narrative. I get it. My narrative continues that you had maybe a detective, or maybe he did because of ego or pride, or he wanted to control the narrative, or I still go back to the fact that we don't know what he's running from. If you stay within that context, he could have also felt that it was safer to be in jail for the time being.
Then we can just say that we don't know that he was hearing.
He was living in a shed and homeless.
We can just say that we don't know that he was. That's what we can say then. If we can just go anywhere, well, maybe he was hearing voices.
No, I agree.
I'm staying consistent.
No, Russ, I'm staying consistent too. But the thing is to throw out because again, if you look at the facts, they're not always.
I didn't just throw it out there.
That seems to be what these defense lawyers use every time somebody gets in trouble.
I'm not a defense lawyer, and I'm not saying that he'll have to be examined and see whether he has, I think, a DSM-5 or whatever it is.
Well, that's the most recent one. So a little unfair. I do have my background in psych. I do have a bachelor's in psych, and I also have a master's in social psych. So I do have some understanding, and I do get what you're saying. But I still say there's a lot of context here to have someone that is instrumental and motivated and goal-oriented. And it makes me look back, and now I have to look with that in context and say, you know what? He wasn't so out of his mind. He may not have been so out of his mind.
Tell me this thing. At the beginning of this, you said that this is just off the charts.
Yes.
But now you're explaining it away.
Off the charts doesn't mean I'm only focused on him. I'm saying off the charts and doing 3 kills at that amount of time. That doesn't mean I said that you had to be psycho. Just three kills in 3 different areas. That doesn't mean the incident itself is off the charts. That I when I read it, yeah, I do believe that, but I never said that he was off the charts. The incident itself was off the charts. I believe. I mean, I'm not reading every day. I don't read a guy on the run. You're right, killing 3 people. So the incident itself is off the charts, but that doesn't mean ultimately that what this person did, it makes him off the charts. I think as I read the story and we read a little more, you have someone that clearly wanted to get the hell out. Now, granted, I don't know what those reasons are. And maybe whatever drove him could be a little wacky. But in the moment, he was clearly intentional in what he did and deliberate. And this is what he wanted to get out. So let's follow it. Let's see what in your mind in this case here, I'll give you my thing, you give me yours. What in your mind right now, what would be something that can come out, whatever, in the near future that definitively would say to you, he's definitely 100%, without the diagnosis, definitely 100% going through some mental health breakdown. Do you have any of that right now, or is there something you're waiting for?
No, what I think is probably going to happen is I think that his brother knows more about this that he's letting on. And I think that because I think he was really, really in the midst of this thing, and I think that no one really knew the danger. And I'm willing to bet that he was. I'm willing to bet that he was probably had started and went off some medication, and I bet he did that sometime in the last year.
So then that would be the reason for what? Let's say he left. We don't know. But I'm saying in the moment when he committed the crime, was he going through an episode? That's the key. That's the key.
No, that's not what I'm saying. That's the reason. That's the reason that he did what he did in the manner in which he did it.
What would convince you that he's not?
A real motive, a real external motive that's either reliant on money, sex, an actual crime that he committed that he was fleeing from, and not this whole just, well, that's what I did, and that's the reason that I did it. So you
need exactly what I'm looking for, right? What happened before? But in the meantime, we have a piece of the puzzle, though, that says that he's trying to get away from something.
In his mind.
We don't know that.
But we don't know your way either.
Yeah, but Russ, I get that.
No, it's not a yeah, but it's
no, it is a yes, but because if you have to take context for what context is. If I came to you and let's say I was interrogating you, the moment you start telling me that you know exactly why you're doing what you're doing, and you're doing it for these reasons, and you know, at the end of the day, you're giving me the goal. How would you say that you're going through a state of paranoia? I think there's a stereotype that goes with the fact that when people say that they look at schizophrenia, they automatically think that they're violent, and it's not. Did this
That's
guy
not what I
say
That's
in
not
his
what
interviews?
I did. I said I thought there was a component there where it was indicative of paranoia. I didn't say that all paranoia.
Did you hear in his? Did you hear in his interview that voices told him to kill somebody?
That wasn't even the type of paranoia, or that was not even the type.
No,
of
you said schizophrenia. Did you hear anything that he felt?
Schizophrenia does not always have voices.
No, I have another one. I have two. I have another one. Did you hear anything at the point that those people caused a threat to them to where he had to act? Because remember, even though they're schizophrenic, they have to have a reason that motivates the violence. They don't just commit violence to commit violence. There has to be a perspective that they feel
when they're in the mission phase of their delusion.
Explain mission phase though. What's the accomplishment of this mission?
It's where they see what to us would be a logical fallacy, and they believe that it's so. Let's just say that he was, since we can throw anything out there, let's just say that I have to get home. I must get home. I must get home at all costs, and that's the break in the logic. So I'm just going to kill somebody, and then that way I can get home. That's not
Russ,
logical. That's not reason.
Russ, so again, maybe, but the reason why I would disagree with that is he didn't have to kill somebody to get the car. He didn't have to kill somebody to get the car.
I know, and that just goes right back to the fact that he was not logically thinking. And so if he didn't have to kill someone to get the car, why did he do it?
Right. Nothing's ever 100%, but I believe there would have to be a perceived threat. There has to be something that in his paranoia or his delusion that there's a perceived threat or a command due to something that could be against his safety. I don't see that. And if you want, I got to kill this person for what? To get out. Oh, but you could get the car. I mean, right. Nothing's ever 100%.
But that means that that would require logical thinking, right?
Russ, everything he said was logical thinking. There's no action here unless what led to the action was illogical.
You can say that he was thinking logically all along. It wasn't logical for him to confess. It wasn't logical for him to kill those people. He didn't have to do any of that. There was a way for him out. He could have had his brother show up there and drive him home.
I mean, would have, could have. We don't know that for a fact.
Okay,
but we don't know what his relationship with his brother is. You know, if my brother's calling me a habitual liar all the time, I'm not going to ask him for help. Looks like I'd rather stay on the streets than ask my brother for help.
Then why did he call him on the phone?
How do we know the brother? Yeah, but that's what the brother said. How do we know the brother didn't say, you know what, stop calling? Well, we don't know that.
Okay. That's see, now we're just.
But Russ, that still doesn't. At the end of the day, the brother or not, I get what you're saying. I'm not arguing that, Russ. What I'm trying to say is, in the moment, he took a life to get a car and to get out. I'll tell you right now. In the end, I don't think he was suffering from any delusion. He knew what he wanted, and he got it. And then there was some satisfaction behind the killing. There was satisfaction behind the killing. He did not have to kill them. I'm saying there's satisfaction behind the killing.
Okay, where?
Russ, he didn't have to kill him. That's his level of control. Maybe that's why he also told the truth.
Maybe from his point of view, he did have to kill him. It had to be done.
It could be also his level of control.
Isn't that his words? Wasn't that his words?
It had to be done because it's his level of control, because they're an open end. They could ID me. They may know something about me. So he's closing all those things out because he didn't have to kill him. It's his level of control. And then also if that's the truth, then when he goes into the interview process or if he just volunteered or if it was interrogated, we don't know if he just came in and volunteered it or if he was pressured to. We don't know because he went in. There was a lot of evidence there that caught him dead to rights. But it also could be to continue that control the narrative, control the spin. You could have someone here that the logic does paint in the fact that everything is underlined by, in red pen with an exclamation point, control. Control. I'm not leaving an open end. I'm not leaving a risk that someone could find me. And as I said, he killed 3 people, and then he makes the confession. I get it. Maybe you want to lean on the fact that it doesn't make sense for him to confess. It could make a lot of sense for him to confess. And if you put everything in context here, Russ, I would say in context right now, there's 80% that shows me that there's someone that knew exactly what they were doing the whole way through. and you have the other side, right? Are you 80-20 or 100-0? Which
So
if I give you
he
20%,
knew-
what are
so
you
he
giving
knew
me?
what he was doing the whole way through. But earlier you said, well, he's inexperienced. He's just a 22-year-old. So
Russ,
which is it?
eventually, Russ, he lost the control, right? Eventually,
Yeah,
he
but
lost the control. Russ, I can know what I'm doing the whole way through, but that doesn't mean I have control of it.
Okay.
I don't have control of what I may say, okay, I'm going to go upstairs. This is what I want to do. And then all of a sudden, my wife gets in the way, and now I can't do it. That doesn't mean I don't know what I want to do. It just means I don't have the power or control to make that full decision. Those two things are not on the same path.
Okay.
I mean, but let's see what happens. I'm curious what people think. But if there's an update here, we'll
Attach a
revisit
poll
it.
to it.
Yeah, but I just want to ask, are you 100% schizophrenic? Or 100% mental health breakdown? Or are you at least, because I'll say I'll do 80-20, but it seems
No,
like
I'm saying that it's causal. I'm saying that it's causal.
so
Absolutely.
what's the
causal.
percentage of both? What's the percentage of my argument with yours?
Mine is 90-10.
Yeah, I think that. So I'm 80-20. Let's see. Hey guys, great debate. Let me know what this is just me and Russ what we do, but this goes to show you guys that we hit it up right now. We don't prep dialogue. We just hit it up, and we're very respectful because obviously we know each other for many years. This is what we do. But I would love to get your perspective, see where it goes. Are you towards the mental health side? Are you towards the logical side? Let us know. I'm 80-20. I'm open. Russ is 90-10. Where do you stand in this debate? And this is good. If you answer it, that means I know you watched the whole video. All right, I'll post this up now, right? And then we'll touch base on maybe do a show tomorrow if you have time.
I'll have to see about tomorrow.
I'll give you a call, but if there's an update, I'll reach out to you.
We're getting ready to go somewhere early next week. So,
all right. But if there's an update, I'll give you a call anyway.
Okay.
All right, Russ. Later, bro.
All right. Bye.